AM radio. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about one time that me and three of my friends wanted to go ahead and explore, um, let's go ahead and say the areas around Colton. And, you know, we were young teens and we decided to go ahead and, how can I put this? We wanted to go ahead and get something spooky in our lives. It was, I remember, I believe it was October 30th. So it was right before Halloween. And we just like, hey, let's go ahead and experience something scary. So we went ahead, got in the car, and we decided to go ahead and trying to cruise around and experience. And believe it or not, in the vicinity of Colton, there's a there's decent scary stories to go ahead and experience. One of the things that is very close to the city of Colton, as everyone would know, is Agua Mansa. Now, Agua Mansa Cemetery is a very famous cemetery. There's no way you can go ahead and get into it. But Agua Road is a different story. It's right next to the cemetery, and it's a very famous road that everyone knows that the La Llorona goes ahead and hangs out at. Agua Road is a famous thing known to have mysterious deaths and also execution like style deaths um, on its road. So it's a scary road just to be like kind of like a creepy sense to it. So me and three other individuals got in a car and we decided like let's go ahead and check it out. So in the middle of the night, we went ahead and started cruising down Algamon's Road. I remember we were driving around and just be like, let's go through the road. We went through it and nothing happened. Like it's nothing. We're like, all right, nothing. Let's go ahead and drive through it again. We went ahead and drove through it again. Nothing happened. At this point in our lives, I don't remember what year it was, but there was nothing really going on that road. So we kept driving back and forth, just trying to creep ourselves out. In one of those back and forths, I remember it got, all right, weird to say, it, it got weirdly foggy. I remember there was like a high dense fog that came through when we were driving through it, and that was strange. Don't know what time it was. It wasn't too late, but it was just like there was like this strong fog that we drove through. We were driving back through it, and I remember we were going. If you know the direction of Algamonza Road, we were going west, and there's a you can make a left on it, and it goes over a bridge. There is a story that you can go ahead and look through the creepy. I forget what website it was, but there's a website that describes um, like this swamp creature or something that came out and attacked people in like the 70s in Riverside. So like I was telling the story to these to my friends as we were driving through it, and they're like, "Oh wow, okay," and that's not too far from us. And the road that we were going through now was a bridge through like a swamp or marsh area, and they're like, "Oh, like we might run into it." We're like, just you know, kids and driving through this area. We had already experienced the fog thing, so we were already kind of like creeped out and having adrenaline being pumped through us. And I remember we were driving over a bridge, not on Agua Mansa, but on, if you're driving west from Agua Mansa, we turned left and then we turned around and started driving back and started driving over a bridge. And we're looking at like the bridge on the outskirts of it, and I was like, there looks like there's a fire. Could be done by some homeless people or whatever, but it was like a little small fire. I'm like, oh, okay, there's that. We kept driving to the bridge, and I remember specifically telling them, I was like, hey, I want to go ahead and roll down the window. Is it cool if I smoke a black and mild? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead and do it. My friend Rudy, who was one of my friends, the other friend that was with me in the back seat was JT, and there was a female with us. We'll call her Gina. And I was on the passenger side back seat. We'll say that. She was in the passenger side. My friend Rudy was driving. JT was on the driver's side back seat. So I remember rolling down the window, and I was about to spark my black and mild, and Rudy was like, "Well, let me put the hazard lights on, and we'll go ahead and cruise down the bridge that we're on with the hazards on, just to go ahead and try to get creeped down and all this kind of stuff." So we're at like a snail's pace on this bridge. We're going slowly across it. Here I am, trying to go ahead, and I'm getting my lighter ready, putting my black and mild in my mouth. The windows roll down, and I could hear, I'm hearing something out the window. Like, and I'm like, that sounds weird. There's nothing wrong with the car, and I was like, does it sound like somebody is running alongside the car right now? Like somebody's like really booking it, like running alongside the car. Then all of a sudden we hear like a loud bang against the car. And I remember when once the bang happened, it sounded like it was in front of me, not right beside me. I remember Rudy went ahead and boom, took off the hazard lights and just started booking it. He started driving, and I was like, "Well, that was weird." I was like, "That was a weird sound." Rolled up the window, didn't even light up the black and mild, and he was like, "Yeah, that was weird." We went ahead and went back up and down Agua Mansa Road again, where the La Llorona was. Nothing else happened. There was no more fog. There was no nothing. There was nothing. And he was like, "Is there any more? Is there anything else creepy like that we can go to?" And I was like, "Well, we can go to Green Acres. Green Acres is a cemetery in Bloomington." I was like, "We can go there." So he was like, "All right, let's go." So we went, and this is like October 30th. Green Acres, if you look on that same website that shows creepy things, is on there. And it says that on Halloween night, there's a marble table that is in between four chairs that is supposed to have blood on it. And I was just like, I told them the story, and they're like, "Let's go." So we went. Um, Green Acres, the best I could describe it is you get off on, I forget what exit it is on the freeway. We got off on it, and we drove like 3 or 4 blocks down to it, and there was a car parked in front of the cemetery gates. The Green Acres is a cemetery, and we parked behind it, and we're like, okay, I don't know what this car is doing here. It must be people that are already inside of the cemetery. And sure enough, as soon as we get off the car, there's people coming out of the cemetery, and they tell us, they're like, "Hey, if you guys are gonna go ahead and check it out, there's no blood on the table, but there's cold spots throughout the cemetery." And they tell us that, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So three of us, because the fourth of us, um, you know what? There's no shame in it. JT did not want to get out of the car. Rudy, Gina, and I, we got off the car. JT did not want to get off the car. He stayed in it, but he was parked right outside the cemetery. We went ahead, climbed over the fence, we got inside, and we're walking. We're walking up this road that is like to the right and left of us. There's a bunch of graves, but with like the flat tombstones. They're not like the headstones. They're just like a bunch of the cement or the concrete ones that like the headstones. And as we're walking up, I remember Gina told us, she's like, I'm seeing people jump. She's like, I see people jumping in front of us from bush to bush. Now, in front of us, there was like bushes and there was like a mausoleum and things like that. And we're like, we don't see these. And she's like, I'm seeing like shadows jump from bush to bush in front of us. All of a sudden, the car's headlights turn on, like off and on, like he's trying to signal for something. We stop where we were, like walking up from front, and we call him on our cell phone, and we're like, "What are you doing? You're lighting up the path. That's good because we're not seeing anybody in front of us. But like, what's going on?" He's like, and he was telling us, he's like, "There's something circling the car. I think it's a dog." But he was getting freaked out. He's all because he said he was hearing something circling the car, and we're like, well, it's probably a dog, whatever. But do us a favor, turn on the high beams of the car so we can make sure that there's no one in front of us trying to like sneak up on us. So he does that. Boom, boom. He turns on the high beams, and we're like on the phone with him, being like, okay, turn them off. We don't want to let the groundskeeper or anybody know that we're there. We're trespassing technically. And I remember Gina was freaking out, and we were just like, it's like this long path of just open area compared to like all the headstones, and it's indeed creepy. And I remember we were walking up, and once you get to a hill, there's just all of a sudden you start seeing like the concrete statues and the concrete like mausoleums and everything. And we're just like, okay, this is this is pretty creepy. We found, I believe I remember, the stone chairs, and with us being there, because since JT did not want to go with us, there was four chairs. There was four chairs. We all decided to sit in a chair. Sat in there, nothing. There was this definitely eerie feeling, but I don't know if it was just because of the fact that we knew we shouldn't be there, and we left. We went ahead and started heading back. The whole time we were there, it's a weird feeling. I've been in cemeteries before, and I could definitely say that being there at night at Green Acres in Bloomington is a weird feeling. It's a definitely strange feeling from when I went with them. And when we left, we went ahead and just said, okay, we're gone. We needed to fill up on gas, and there's a 7-Eleven down the street from Green Acres. And this is where it gets a little bit strange, but kind of a weird thing. Filled up on gas. I remember getting a slushie. It was a mango slushie. I won't forget that. The I was about to get in. I was about to get in the back seat again, and I looked at the window of the passenger door, and I saw a handprint. The handprint was kind of like the fingers on it were long. I have big hands, and I remember looking at the handprint, and I was just thinking, I was like, that it looks weird. It looks very strange. Like the tips of the handprint were like long, sharp pointed, and I was like, it's five fingers, and I was like, that looks weird. It looks strange, and I remember calling everyone else like look at this. It's a handprint on the window. I have big hands, and everyone there, they didn't have as big of hands, and I was like, you know what, the sound that we heard when I after I heard like the running along the car, and then there was like a loud bang. I was like, did it sound like this? The car, I don't know what car it was, but the door handle was like one of those ones you like lift up, of course, to go ahead and open the door. Since it was locked, I was like, let me just see. So I lifted up the door handle to the door, just to go ahead and just like real quick, just like kind of like a boom boom. And I remember I lifted it up, and it fucking, and I remember it closed, and it made the same exact noise on the road that we had when I was trying to light my black and mild on the stretch of road by Agua Mansa. I remember that once we heard that noise, everyone realized that something that was running alongside the car tried to open the door. The handprint was just, it was a creepy feeling with it. And I remember going from Bloomington back to Colton, which is a solid like over 15 minutes. No one spoke. It was quiet that whole ride back home because no one knew what had happened. It was it was one of those things that I can't explain. It was a haunted road that we were driving on, or like alongside of, and then we had went to a cemetery that was creepy, and I have no idea what had happened. But I mean, that's the experience, and I mean, I went through it. I was there. But go ahead, leave a comment, leave a like, and you know what? Just let me know what you think, because that one makes me question a lot of things. But overall, please take care of yourself, and I hope you have a good night.